Hello, you beautiful lovelies. It's Rosie Glow here. I wanted to make a little video to get people inspired with their imagination to consider what would it feel like to actually grow in a divine feminine womb. Now, I'm saying this because I've got loads of things going on at the moment where we are accessing divine feminine consciousness upgrades, including my beautiful retreat, the 17th to the 19th of September, which is actually the physical element of a 3-month container of divine feminine embodiment. And, you know, this is not something that someone is teaching from top down. We are activating our heart consciousness and actually discovering from within what it really means in this changing world, because we do need to redefine what empowerment means and to keep questioning what that means, because this leads me to what's really going on at the moment and why I've made this video, which is the fact that we have a new moon upon us. And that will be in a week's time, next Monday. But the energy that's coming through with this new moon in Virgo is all about being the divine inner child, like the divine child within, rather than the wounded child within. I'm sure you've heard of inner child work, and you know that elements of our being have been stunted at different stages of our growth. When we didn't feel we could express our truth, maybe we didn't have the words to express them, things could have been more pre-verbal. And ultimately, we've been shut down at a time when it was important that we were able to be heard and to express and to be seen and to be felt and acknowledged. And I made a video recently, which is on YouTube, Rosie Glow YouTube, which is the energy update in preparation for this new moon. And it's about hope, positive anticipation, and setting the scene for victory. And really what is required there is for us to activate this inner divine child consciousness. And with that, I mean, you know, a divine child knows they deserve everything they want. They're not questioning their worth. They're not questioning whether they're deserving or allowed to have what they want. They have a desire. They express it as a divine wish. And then they ask for how it can be made possible. And of course, this is coming from a whole place within us, not a wounded space within us. So when we are in a healed space within, what we desire is aligned with the divine. It's not anti, it is not shadow desire. It's truly the embodiment of us expressing in physical form our energetic beingness. And as we're evolving as a humanity, we have to remember that every one of us to this point in time has grown in a womb, right? And that womb is more likely to have had quite a lot of toxicity to clear, on the basis that very few of us have been blessed enough to grow without the gender war conditioning, without the generational trauma that's been passed from one generation to the next, without the intense judgment that seems to be part of the womb experience. Because when a woman is growing a baby, she is looking at the world around her all of the time. And the way she experiences the world is then translated to the baby in the form of hormones. I talk about this more in the other video, so I'm not going to go there too quickly. But what I'll say is that for all of us, the baseline of who we think we are, our emotional state, our psychological state, our baseline, our homeostasis, if you like, is set from our time in the womb. And it is then sort of further consolidated by our birth experience, the first 7 years of our life, and then any other big impactful experiences that have occurred, either ones that have been positive and reinforcing in an expansive way, or ones we would perceive as traumatic or negative that have somehow limited us further. The point is, we're here to change all of this now. So I just invite you for a moment just to consider. There's no blame, okay? We're not here to blame or attack our ancestors. We're actually here to set them free. So what would it feel like? And there's a question. To grow in a divine feminine womb. What would it feel like to have grown in a womb where each and every one of us felt truly welcome, truly wanted, called in? Even if we were surprised that that element of delight is there. And also the capacity to be transparent and honest and conscious. So for me, the interpretation of a divine feminine womb is one that is real, is one where there's no suppression of truth, right? And there is a direct communication between the woman who is growing this baby and this soul incarnate in this baby and the baby and the soul. There is this consciousness that as we walk through life, we encounter all sorts. Some things we deem as pleasant, some things we deem as unpleasant, but they're all experience. And the way that we're able to make sense or digest or transmute challenging experiences is through communication, through curiosity rather than judgment. All creation is set to start or be instigated in the deep, dark space of non-judgment, right? If you think about the womb, it's like a deeply hidden part within the woman's body, right? It's a hidden chamber. And although a baby, once the belly stretches or the womb stretches, can kind of filter light through and see light, it's the deep, dark space of non-judgment that was the intention for all souls to be created in, or all souls to incarnate within. And now this has become, through many generations, a womb space of toxicity. The womb ecology is one that needs cleaning up. So how do we do it? We activate our imagination. Like I said, we're not going into blame. We just accept that all of us have picked up some patterns, behaviors, thought forms, expectations of life that maybe don't really serve us or don't serve our divine plan. And it's important that we filter through. So in preparation for the new moon co-creation meditation on YouTube on Friday, 12:30 p.m. BST, which is 7:30 a.m. EST and 3 hours earlier for PST, please just have this in your heart and your mind. It's like, what would it have felt like? Or what would it feel like? Let's bring it into now. To grow in a womb of trust. To grow in a womb that feels connected to source. To grow in a womb that has compassion for our own suffering and also the suffering of others, but is not in a state of suffering for others, right? What would it feel like or what does it feel like to grow in a womb space that allows us to be without censorship, allows us to experience without judgment of right and wrong, allows us to feel whole, complete, welcome, allowed. What else has been coming through for me? Open, delighted, grateful, appreciative, caring. Like, welcome this idea. Now, we're all in a womb, okay? We're all in our sphere of compassion. And so we have a womb around us all of the time, and we are projecting energy into that womb space depending on what we have tuned into, what we have brought through, what we've connected to. That's why a daily morning hookup is so important. And I offer that through my Star Salutation Prosperity Practice, which is a free gift on the Rosy Glow website. You can just join the community and you'll get it. Like hooking up, choosing what you're going to connect to, your I am presence, the part of you that is able to connect and receive anything that is needed. What does it feel like to be in a space of unconditional love, of receivership, of infinity, of abundance, of prosperity? What does it feel like to have an absence of anxiety, of stress, of doubt and fear being the baseline? Like, what would be the opposite of that? Trust, certainty, deep knowing, excitement, positive anticipation. All of this is so important. And the opposite of stress would be calm, would be peace, right? These are frequencies we can connect to. So please start to ask this question and know that it is our job, each and every one of us, to birth ourselves again, to birth the divine child within us, to activate the divine feminine within us, to activate the divine masculine within us. It's no one else's job. It doesn't matter what your early story is, whether it's one you would say is traumatic or not. What matters is what you do with it now. And we are all co-creators of our reality, and we are either co-creating consciously or we're not. So again, I just want to mention the retreat again as I take you on a little journey to bring an important message to you from another wise woman. And that is that, as divine feminine leaders, we have to firstly admit that we don't really know fully how to lead in our divine feminine. We've had these concepts of empowerment. We've had concepts of what it means to be strong in our masculine and our feminine, and they need constant reviewing. But I mention this connection because the divine child has to grow in the divine womb, the divine feminine womb. So we create this for ourselves. And as I said, I was talking to a very wise woman who mentioned to me Just by asking this question, what does it feel like to grow in a divine feminine womb? We create something different. We just feeling the feeling re-imprints our whole life and our lineage. Just allowing ourselves to feel what it would be like re-imprints our whole life and our lineage, both our ancestors and our descendants. That's how powerful we are, right? So inviting this question, what does it feel like to grow in a divine feminine womb, is like freeing everyone from the toxicity of whatever we grew in as we were developing. We can do this for other elements too, but for now, be in this space. Know that all elements, divine masculine, divine feminine, divine child, are essential. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. You can see it that way. Divine masculine Father, Son is the divine child, and the what they call it, Holy Ghost, is the divine feminine, is that energy. But we're moving beyond patriarchal paradigms. We're moving beyond matriarchal paradigms. It's not about usurping. It's not about overpowering and dominating. One of the video links that I mentioned in the energy update is about 14 subtle things abusive parents do. Hands up, I did many of them in my ignorance as a young mum, as a mum who intended to do differently to my own parents, but was hardwired and programmed in stressful moments to respond the way my parents responded to me, who also responded the way their parents responded to them. So you get the need for forgiveness and letting go of the blame. As we change our inner perception and our experience for ourselves, we see the world differently. We can exist in a multidimensional way. And again, I'm just going to invite you to remember this heart call of stepping into divine feminine leadership for those of us who are physical embodiments of the feminine or hold that divine feminine strongly in our hearts, whatever our outer makeup is. You know, for us to lead from this place, we're going to have more questions than answers right now. We're going to learn from each other what really is in resonance and what isn't. And it is essential that we tap into divine prosperity as our birthright. It is essential that we continue to grow ourselves consciously, to keep growing, to keep questioning, but through the heart rather than the mind. And it is essential for us to be willing just to embrace the idea that we only need to know the next step, that we can co-create with the divine within us, and therefore there's a deep act of faith and trust. This isn't hope that is unfounded hope. This is that deep certainty that we root down into, that knows we have the codes within us to awaken balance again within us and around us in our collective, and to create consciousness and compassion as the two elements most essential to making the decisions that are for our collective future and our individual future. So, one more time, if you are of the feminine physical embodiment and you would like to join us for the Divine Feminine Leadership Container, which is also a physical retreat from the 17th to the 19th of September, I've got one premium space left. Okay, I've got a single occupancy space left if you would like it. There might be another option, so just get in touch if you're feeling this heart call. And you know, maybe what you've been trying to do is get something off the ground that hasn't been working for you. And this is about that radiant energy that we magnetize those towards us, that we are here to help awaken as part of our service, if you like, or part of our awakening of our soul consciousness and the embodiment of our soul purpose. Service is an interesting word as well. To serve, to be in service. We are each here collectively in service to the reawakening of the divine within each of us. And that is the invitation through Rosy Glow, through Divine Grace. So if you fancy the Divine Feminine space, please get in touch. If you want to join me for the co-creation meditation on Friday, subscribe to Rosy Glow YouTube and join my mailing list so you know what else is coming up through rosyglow.com. That will give you access to that Star Salutation Prosperity Practice and daily hookup I mentioned. And for those of you who are ready for a 4-month total reprogramming of your subconscious and early influences, then get in touch and let us know you're interested in the Fearless, Loved Up and Free to Be Me course. It's an ongoing course. It is phenomenal. The results it delivers are love, money, soul purpose, fulfillment, client attraction, clarity on soul purpose. It's infinite, okay? But it teaches you how to use your power wisely, so you know that you're not going to misuse it and you can become more powerful. I'll leave this with you to ponder, and I invite you just to get involved with the Rosy Glow community. I look forward to seeing you on Friday. I look forward to hearing from you about the leadership retreat or about Fearless, and I welcome you into my community. Namaste.